Alright, welcome to Stampscaping 101. We have a quick, well actually not so quick because I end up lingering too long on these videos, but we have a video of the rubber stamper, May, June 2001. The industry was really kind of firing on all cylinders and hopping at this point in time. New companies, new manufacturers coming out, and new accessories for rubber stamping were out there. Different publications were out there. The rubber stamper had been out there for a while, but you saw different ones popping up from kind of major publishers and creating their own, paper arts, rubber stamping, scrapbooking types of magazines at the time. So let's see what this one is here. This one's going to be a little bit different than one that you would find kind of off the store shelf. This is the business to business edition, which is the same content in there. It's just it has a few extra things in there for the industry manufacturers and the rubber stamp retailer. But let's take a look through this and see what we have here. You'll see different types of advertisements in these types of magazines, kind of targeting maybe a little bit of a wider appeal than maybe the earlier rubber stamp magazines that were, really targeting rubber stampers for the most part. But you have magazines like these ones that were targeting rubber stampers for sure, but it was kind of a little bit wider of a scope in terms of the crafting community and whatnot. I mean, there's a lot of crossover, of course, with all of that type of stuff here. AccuCut. I remember the AccuCut and all of the different, what do you call them? I don't know whether they're cartridges or dies or whatever. Die cuts, I guess. And this type of thing being at, I don't know, just about all the local rubber, or your local rubber stamp stores and whatnot. You wouldn't buy one of these things for your own home use. Well, I don't know, some people might have, but for the most part, you went in and you purchased I don't know, whatever trimmings or whatever done at the store with the AccuCut. I don't know. I never did that, so I don't know. Please make a comment down below and let me know how that whole system worked. But I always saw all those different dies kind of lined up on the it was usually in the back of a store somewhere, usually in the workshop area or something like that. Not really on the showroom, kind of out in the middle of the floor or something like that. But anyways, look at this. Harry Potter right here. Here's a big Ranger advertisement right here. Scrapbooker's Palette. Archival inks, Ranger Clear Resist. I'm not sure if the I don't know, certain lines were out there. Were Adirondacks around at the time in the early 2000s and all that type of stuff with the Tim Holtz? I think that came later. But look at this gloss paper right here. A lot of people always tell me, do you use, can you use regular paper? Well, gloss paper was regular paper back then. I don't know. Just somewhere along the line, a lot of people just stopped using gloss paper. Everyone used glossy paper back when. They used matte as well, but everyone usually used gloss as well. So you usually had both of those things in your repertoire, and because there was just less accessories pre kind of 2000s. So if you didn't have glossy and regular cardstock, then you were missing out on a significant type of I don't know, surface to use with your stamps. Different types of papers kind of became very popular later on. You had stores that were just filled with paper. Scrapbooking kind of blew that open, where you have you might go into a store and have a choice of 100 different types of papers to work with. But I don't know, maybe just somewhere along the line, I don't know, glossy was just another white paper, where you have a lot more exciting things possibly to be working with. I don't know, in terms of the patterns and prints and whatnot. Addicted to Rubber Stamps right here. If you haven't been stamping too long, this was one of the early websites back when. I don't know when they started, around what date, but the the internet was becoming bigger and bigger, and you had everyone going on things like broadband and faster connections and whatnot. So this company right here would typically ask, the different companies out there, like for example, we want to carry your 40 most popular designs or something like that. They didn't have kind of one buyer that knew the entire line, so they pretty much leave it up to you to, as a manufacturer and supplier, to tell them, okay, these ones are our 40 top ones. Then they'd say, okay, we will take 20 of each of those, which was a really big order, for back then. So I don't know. That was one source, and I think it was addicted to scrapbooking as well, which was their kind of their sister company and whatnot. And I forgot where they were based out of. Was it Colorado or Oregon or something like that? But as you can see, there was a lot of different companies that they carried. Statler Stamping Studio. Now, see, you didn't see Statler advertising in, kind of the earlier magazine. I don't know, maybe they did once in a while, but eraser carvings, a really popular form of stamping in terms of making your own eraser carvings. If you've never done this type of thing before, I'd really recommend it. It's really easy to do. We did it as 14-year-olds in high school in our graphic arts class, on linoleum blocks, and eraser carvings. Kind of use the same tools, use carving tools, but carving into a Statler Mars, kind of those white, denser types of erasers is so much easier than the linoleum block. And then when you're done carving, that's your stamp right there. You don't have to do anything else. You just take that and stamp it right on out there. You might know some different companies out there, especially if you've been stamping for a while, that had a lot of the carved looking stamps. Most of them are kind of illustrated these days. PSX, miss them. In terms of company, Rubber Baby Buggy Bumper is always a fun convention. Well, company too, but as far as a convention vendor, one of the first companies to really be kind of showcasing a lot of their unmounted rubber dies. And a lot of it was seconds or just overstock, I guess. And it was all, they would just put it into a big old pile, and it was all trimmed, roughly trimmed in individual dies, and just piled like on I don't know, I think they threw down a tarp or something like that in the middle of their booth, just right on the floor, so you'd get everyone just running in there, and everyone carried a little bit of like a compact mirror, to look at the die in reverse, mostly to kind of read word stamps or something like that, to be able to tell what they were. But that was always a fun type of thing to see. So all these people just sitting on the floor, kind of, and I guess they spread it around. It was almost like a, I don't know, it's like a visual, creative art supply trough or whatever, just dumping things out and people just kind of digging through it. It was really funny. It was really fun. Rubber stamp events. They're the ones that put on the show in Mesa, Arizona. I don't know how many conventions they got up to. Oh, here's one in Reno and Lawrence, Kansas. Back when we had been doing the before COVID, doing the Mesa, Arizona show. When I started doing shows again, I started doing it with Rubber Stamping Depot, and Mesa was one of them, just because it's something we can drive to from Southern California for the most part. Let's see, the Nick Bantock collection, something that you would see in like a Barnes and Noble or Borders and things like that, stamp sets and whatnot being sold there. I don't know, if you look them up, I don't want to go into that right now. Paper Adventures here. Oh my gosh, we just got to the table of contents right here. That was a lot of advertising up until then. So it just comes to show you, you're Stampin' Up! Right here, kind of the scale of rubber stamping at the time. A lot of big full-page ads in a pretty significant type of publication, I wouldn't be surprised if this ad cost, I don't know, $2,000, maybe more, just for this one full page ad for one issue, back in the day. Superior, the maker of a lot of different stamp pads. You might think that your stamp pads are made by certain manufacturers. Well, they are, but they're not really manufactured. They're branded and designed by your different, manufacturers and suppliers. But a lot of it is made by Stewart, though. They just, they'll put your label on top of it, and you probably have a minimum order of quite a few. I think they sold it themselves too, but it's mostly under other brands these days, and they're the source of it there. So pretty significant supplier in terms of materials in the stamping industry all this time. Going back into the early '90s. So yeah. Let's see. Masking Magic. We'll see if I can see Penny Black, of course, full page ad there. The Unconventional Convention. I think the owner... Oh, this is Auntie Amy. Okay, she was the one that put on the Riverside show, and I've mentioned this in previous conventions. The Carson, California convention, kind of in the LA area, LA County, was the kind of original rubber stamp convention. And it was just so big and kind of filled up all the time. They're just everyone trying to get into it as far as being a rubber stamp manufacturer. And it happened 3 times a year, and a lot of companies couldn't get in, And those conventions were always just so busy that they started another convention over in Riverside. And then, Riverside is really close to LA County, maybe about an hour out of it, depending on where you live in LA County. LA County is huge. But they started one in Riverside, and then they did one in Ventura. Ventura is north of Los Angeles, by about an hour, hour and a half or something like that. And I don't know. That one surprised me being there because I'm not sure who they were drawing from. They were drawing maybe from people from Los Angeles to maybe Santa Barbara County or something like that in that area. I'm guessing. I don't know. Yeah, I never went to that Ventura one though. Ventura is pretty close to, well, not real close, but an hour and a half south of where I grew up in the central coast of California. Show dates. Speaking of the Carson show here, this is RSC, which is the original rubber stamp convention. That's in Carson. Oh, new location right here. November 10th and 11th. What is that new location? It doesn't say where in this ad, but I'm guessing this one was the one at the Queen Mary show. Because it was normally in Carson. And then they have new location here. They should have said it here, but I believe that was the Queen Mary show. And the Queen Mary show was really quite... the Queen Mary is this big ocean liner that's just docked, in Long Beach, and that really became quite an event. And it really couldn't accommodate all of the attendees for the show. It got shut down by the fire marshal. Not shut down completely, but they closed off the entrance, and they waited for about 200 people to leave that show before they let in maybe 10. And then when 10 people would leave, they'd let 10 people in. Some people were waiting in line for that show. I'm guessing it's that one, because that's the only time they switched venues. Some people were waiting in line for 2.5 hours and never went back to that Queen Mary show ever again. And who would blame them? But it wasn't uncommon for people to wait in line, speaking of the size of that Queen Mary show and the popularity of it. People got there early in the morning. The show opened about 8 or 9 a.m. I thought it was 9 a.m., but when I got there to, continue setting up my booth, a lot of times around 7:30, there was already a line out there, a big line. So some people might have got there, for all I know, at 6 a.m., and also so they can get a parking spot in the the Carson community. It wasn't really it was a community center, so that there was a decent amount of parking, but not like a convention center. So you had to get there kind of early. Um, okay, let's see here. Vintage leather, make a scene. I don't think any of my stuff's in there, but we were talking about, you know, scenic stamping for the most part at the time. The Rubber Stamp Expo. I think, yeah, that was that other show. There was another show that went on before the Expo. Expo started putting on a lot of different shows out there. If it was them. Stamp Oasis, Luna Lights. Does anyone remember those inks from Luna Lights? Stamp Oasis was the one that coordinated the early Las Vegas conventions. A lot of people would go out there to those shows, and a lot of people would travel. There was not a huge, population out there in Las Vegas to support a convention, so a lot of people would drive in from Southern California, San Diego, LA, Orange County, maybe Ventura, and drive into it, but a lot of people flew in for that show. It's one of those things. Some stamper says, "Hey, I want to go to a stamp convention. It's in Las Vegas." Typically, the stampers are women, and if they have a spouse, the spouse was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Let's go to the show." So that was one of those shows that the husbands and the spouses were fine going to a stamp convention. Let's go. They wouldn't go to the show. They'd stay back at back in the hotel and then, gamble and do all that Vegas type of stuff. And so it became kind of a little bit of a vacation for both the vendors too, because you could, walk around and do stuff at night and whatnot, have fun in Las Vegas, and I don't know, and by day you're doing the show. Inka-dinka-doo. Inka-dinka-doo in Massachusetts. Is that okay? I might be thinking of a different thing. I think Inka-dinka-doo was in California, unless they moved out there. They were one of the ones that were doing the rainbow stamp pads, I think. Magic Beans, Java-inspired cards right here, using actual coffee beans right here. Coffee has always been kind of one of those kind of subject matters that you see stampers doing periodically. In fact, I could even do one of these now. I have this one stamp called "Woman," with coffee. Is that what it's called? The Lady with Coffee or something like that. Oh, here's even more right here. The whole thing with coffee. I don't know. I don't know. When did Starbucks just start blowing up? Was it about that time? Maybe a little bit earlier. But look at all these right here. Coffee, coffee, coffee. I went to one CHA's show. That's the Craft and Hobby Association show, the big wholesale show. And one time when I went to it, man, it seemed like everything was cupcakes. Those cupcakes were kind of blowing up, but I don't know. I guess before then it was probably, kind of coffee subject matter as far as like some kind of, I don't know, culinary type of, subject matter. I believe these ones are from a Stamp in the Hand right here. The old kind of wood carved type of look of a stamp. Anyway, let's see here. Visions of Sheer Radiance. Okay, Radiant Pearls. Do you remember those colors? That became one really big selling item back in those days. Here's another coffee thing right here. Another whole coffee article. Is that the subject of this one? Oh, okay. Well, it's the coffee, thing. I don't know. Denami right here. Used to see them at all the different conventions. Papers by Catherine. Ode to Texture right here. All these different types of papers kind of, becoming available. Some really kind of very expensive handmade papers back in the day, And whatnot. It was nice being able to go to so many different kind of stores and independent stores. Look at this. To Touch, the finest in textured papers. I'm all into texture and whatnot. I didn't really collect papers, like the really nice kind of boutique papers, and I don't know. imports and whatnot, but I don't know. Whenever I'd be in some kind of paper place, I always was kind of intrigued with it. I get a lot more packs of papers. You know, I was always kind of attracted to the things like star dreams, the iridescents, metallics. I don't know, for whatever reason. I never really thought about it and was conscious of it until I kind of looked back at my paper, kind of collection, not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago, and it's like everything I have is kind of all iridescent, it seems, It must be into that type of reflective type of look right here. Stamp stores right here. If I went back down in whatever state you were in, if you've been stamping for a while, you'll probably remember a lot of these. Over the rainbow, the magic of compressed sponges and inks. I'm always mentioning, the use of different sponges, kitchen sponges to use with your inks to do color applications and whatnot. Here's that magic sponge right here, I believe. I've seen Dee of Posh Impressions using. She was all doing all kinds of these different rainbow types of effects and whatnot with it. Check that out sometime. I don't know, which one is this? Is that the Radiant Pearls or something like that? I won't go in and read all those types of things, but a lot of these types of things that were being done 20 years ago, I'm finding that kind of if I do kind of an application of that technique or whatnot, or that media, I don't know, it seems to be fresh and new, so there's a lot of things that people just haven't seen before, like, you know, like stamp board or whatnot. A lot of people haven't seen that, this type of media. I don't know, bringing back certain types of techniques and whatnot. I don't know, it kind of makes it fresh and new again in some ways, and might remind some people, of that technique that they did, and to, kind of have some fun doing it again and whatnot. Long's Drugs, they were in Northern California, or the Bay Area, Sunnyvale, California. I don't know where Long's Drugs that Shane kind of extended to. I know they were here in California. They might be just out in the West or something like that. But they were all independent, and this one had a big rubber stamp section. I had heard, I'd never been in there, but someone told me about it, and they were a really great client of mine, and I don't know, sold a lot of Stampscapes back in the day. They probably had teachers here that taught classes as well, so the Inkpad's still around. Look them up online in New York City. Treasures, these terrific Midwest rubber stamp stores. I'm guessing this is kind of a collection of stores that probably took out this ad, to promote their stores. So it was good because they can take out a whole advertisement like this and split, the cost of doing an ad like that. So, good for them to kind of be organized here. Stamforosa right here. The House Mouse company. They did a lot more than that, but a lot of people know them for that. The Xyron, remember that? Who has a Xyron machine? Dreamweaver stencils. Okay, now here's the business-to-business one. This is the type of thing that you wouldn't come across, just as a consumer or whatnot. You had to kind of be a manufacturer or, or store owner, to get this business-to-business edition right here. But they'd be talking about how to promote things, how to I don't know, this one's going into Industry Buzz, HIA, which is the Hobby Industry Association, which combined with, I forgot the other entity, but then they became CHA. Display tips, how to display, things, how to be kind of an efficient retailer of stamps. Here's Stamp Studio in Meridian, Idaho. They used to carry Stampscapes there. But they, like store owners would give their tips on, how to do things, their experiences, what to kind of avoid too. I never really read all these, because I'm not a retailer, but that's the type of thing that this little insert here went into. Um, let's see. Provo Craft, Biblical Impressions, kimonos, kind of like paper folding and whatnot. Here's House Mouse right here with Stamforosa. Marco's Paper. They're still around. Check out their site if you're ever looking for, different types of papers. They had some of the Brilliance inks that I've been using, like a really good selection of them. But they're still out there. Check them out. They're in. It says Ohio. I thought they were in Illinois. I don't know. I don't know where they are, but they are online. Heirloom Productions. I used to do several of their shows. I don't know if I did them on a regular basis. Definitely the Western Washington Fairgrounds show, the Puyallup one. That's the last show that I did before I took a big hiatus from doing it. Used to do the Texas show. Oh, and the West Springfield show. I guess that one is that one this weekend. That one might have been this week or this last weekend. I'm not sure. Always enjoyed doing all their shows, and they used to have one in San Mateo in the Bay Area. Really fun stuff. Museum of Modern Rubber. I always kind of point them out. I always love that convention. Pushing the envelope. Cards and gifts. That's kind of an interesting thing right here with this moss and all these different florals right here. Oh, let's keep moving here. Here's Sue's ultra thick embossing enamel UT. It was UTEE was always that short for that. You might have seen her doing that melting pot type of thing. Really cool. Always enjoyed watching her demonstrate that at the different shows and at CHA and whatnot. Always a big gathering around her demonstrations. Pears from Stamp the Hand. That's the company that I used to work for, and those were done by Sinan Douglas. There, the eraser carving look. So you can eraser carve, something like that, and hand color. For the most part, with the these ones are probably all hand colored with the Marvy 1500 series brush markers because they're big and juicy and big wide tips, and you can do a lot of blending with these ones. The finer tipped ones, like the La Plumes or the Tombos or something like that. You can color something like that with the brush side, but with that type of sheer amount of ink used on these types of things, a lot of people haven't seen this type of coloring before. Stuff that Posh Impressions used to do with D, but you can get all those different kind of cool kind of watercolor types of textures and whatnot, and color transitions, and in all of your different impressions. So just really fun stuff. Oh, moving on here, flipping through here. If you live in the Colorado area, Stamping to Sea used to put on a show there in where's the Denver show? I think that was them. Yeah, here's Littleton. I don't know. I did a show in downtown Denver one time, and it was them. But they also, it looks like they did, I don't know, she organized conventions all over the place. Minnesota, Colorado, Michigan, North Dakota, Tennessee. Did you ever do those? Go to any of those shows back around that time? Twin Cities Gala. One of the things that was fun, see, like on right here it says, it's Saturday from 9 to 5, but then there was a Friday night event. Yeah, Friday night Stamp Mania. Okay, at Denver. Okay, yeah, well, here's the one, Rocky Mountain High. But they would have this Friday night things. A lot of times, if a show was one day, sometimes they'd have like a Friday night type of thing. Like if you're a scrapbooker, you went to a crop on Friday night or whatever, right? Or Thursday, I don't know, whatever it was. Thursdays, right? And then it wasn't the show on Saturdays, and then Fridays and Saturdays a lot of time, and not on Sundays, I think it was. Rubber stamp shows were always on Saturdays, and Sundays a lot of times, but if it was a one-day show, they would often have some kind of Friday night type of thing. Like in Las Vegas, it was a ice cream social where you'd go to this like a banquet room or something like that. And if you had tickets to it, you can go and sit in on, do make and takes, going on. And they would have ice cream, like an ice cream bar or whatever. You can go get your ice cream and whatnot. On something like this, it was, I think there were, I think the way they formatted it was you go in and like you had to have a 15-minute project if you were doing a demonstration there. And then like when the 15 minutes was up, they, I don't know, whatever, some kind of bell went off, and then people rotate to a different make and take, and I don't know, several make and takes, probably over the course of about 2 hours. So you needed to have maybe 8 um, sets of whatever you were doing. I think that's what it was, or something like that. So really fast projects, okay? And that's what that type of thing was. And I don't know, it was always a fun time whenever, that type of thing was going on. Typically when I was at those types of things, I was, doing the make and takes and the demonstrations and whatnot. But I did go to one out in Las Vegas where I just went to the social. I wasn't vending at the show, but I don't know, we just went out there and just enjoyed ourselves as an attendee, which I hadn't done a lot of, but it's like, oh my gosh, these Friday night things. I always knew people were having fun, but it was really fun. I didn't sit on anything and do it, but, I just kind of observed. I should have taken some photographs of that. I don't know, that was pre kind of digital cameras, though, so I would have had to do film. Oh, let's see, Rubber on the Road here, different classes going on. Looks like Sue's. This is Schmooze with Sue's. Her whatever article in this magazine. Good stamp goods. Always saw them at the Carson convention and love their selection here. Galleries right here. You can take a look at see the different types of cards that were being done at the time. Primarily stamping, you don't see too many things like die cuts and things like that. I don't know, I've kind of forgotten when a lot of those types of things kind of came about, so you don't see certain types of constructions of cards being done at this time, like they are now. So, yeah, it was just a lot of, as I'm looking at this, it's a lot of, well, this one's like one or yeah, there's different stamps in the background right there, but that's one stamp stamped twice, with some elements around it. That might be one whole stamp right there. I'm not quite sure, but less of I don't know, like a, I don't know, whatever, different types of things that are being used these days. Underproof Press, they're still around. The ones that I'm pointing out, I mean, there might be a lot more places that are still around, but some are not. But Underproof Press at this time was probably with their second ownership, but the full catalog is still available online. I love their stuff. In fact, I probably have more Underproof Press images in my collection, my private collection of stamps, than any other company. It's just a really nice curated grouping of stamps, mostly those old 19th and 20th century highly detailed engravings that I really enjoy and whatnot. Limelight, the Rubber Stampers World. Different company stamps right here. I guess you submit your new designs or whatnot. I always like seeing these groupings of stampers right here. This is Long Beach, Washington by the Picture Addict. I don't know. It just reminds me of the fun time in kind of live workshops, and I don't know, sometimes retreats and whatnot. Retreats were always the best because, you go to one location over the course of, one whole weekend, usually Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday morning, just teaching classes, and people are usually staying at the location, and you just eat and everything there. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and just in between, you're doing your classes. So it's usually 2 or 3 classes a day, and people are often stamping into the wee hours of the night or whatnot. Versacolors right here by Tsukaneko. I'm using a lot of the, you know, the Versa Fine types of things, the Clairs, the Brilliancings. Brilliancings have long been, I don't know, I guess forgotten. I don't know when these came out. It might have been around this time, but I don't know. Everyone had a Brilliance pad. They might not have had a huge, you know, collection of all the different colors, but I've found that, oh my gosh, people have forgotten about the Brilliancings, but the Brilliancings for me have really kind of broken open to a huge, wide extent the possibilities of certain types of applications, such as on foils and whatnot. So, Tsukaneko, please don't discontinue the Brilliancings. You know, we need to get that kind of word out there because there hasn't been anything that's replaced it in terms of a fast-drying pigment ink. Here's that Nick Bantock guy with the Griffin and Sabine series of books that became very popular. I don't know what these are right here. These might have been made into rubber stamps. Could have been by, well, I'm looking at it right here. I'm looking at it right here to see if there was some rubber stamps made of it. The kid stamps were putting out a lot of the foam sets of, I don't know, different artists' collections and whatnot. And I don't know, there might have been a stamp set for the Griffin and Sabine kind of series of books. Okay, just moving along right here. What is this right here? This is Dr. P.H. Martin's right here. What? I had no idea. I'm always talking about the Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white, but here it's the Impress, you know, iridescent ink pack. So I don't know. I guess they were an iridescent ink pad by Dr. P.H. Martin's. I doubt if they're still out there. If they are, I haven't heard of them. They don't look like they're iridescent, but I don't know if they're around these days. I don't know. I really don't like the labeling on them. It looks like a kid labeling in terms of the typography, but I don't know if those things were still around. I might have to look into them these days. I don't know. Of course, they went like dry on, you know, foil papers that I've been working with, but maybe they would dry on, well, I'm sure they would dry in matte. I'm not sure if they would dry. Yeah, they probably wouldn't dry on glossy. Maybe I wouldn't get into them. All right, looking around. Look at this one right here. This is pretty cool. I don't know if that's on the stamp itself, but it might be. I'm not sure, but that's one of those things where you can stamp out something and then cut it up like that, you know, into little rectangles or what, and then space them out like that. I was doing, you know, something akin to that, you know, with the triptych type of thing like this, where you stamp something, one thing out, and put a little bit of space in between it. It makes for a really nice kind of graphic, visually kind of exciting graphic style. I mean, it's not too, you know, unlike something like this, but this one's kind of more of this little grid type of thing. Looks really fun. I'll have to do that with sometimes with the clayboard art tiles. I got to get used to saying that. These ones used to be called stamp board. Now they're called clayboard art tiles, and there's little. I think they have the 1-inch ones still. I'm not sure actually. They're in different formats now, so I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that again. Uptown Stamps. That was a big company back then. You know. I don't know if there was a parent company, but like this. Buy Uptown, save the world. Every time you buy an Uptown stamp, we support the rainforest. We preserve 100 times as much land as the size of every stamp we sell. That's pretty cool. I looked into them, I think. I think they made stamps for other companies as well, but look at this gigantic ad by them. This would have cost... I mean, there's some big companies in here, right? But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's an 8 full color page ad. And one of them's just kind of, you know, talking about their kind of policy of that, you know, in terms of, you know, how that goes. But I don't know, does anyone have some Uptown stamps or have any memories of them? Wait a minute. This is still the Uptown ad in here. Okay, well, I don't know how many that would pages, but here's another one. Another one. Boy. God, they were big. When did they disappear? They're not around anymore, are they? They didn't. Did someone buy them out or whatnot? Because I don't think they're still around. This is forever. This is like a. This is going to be like 1/3 of the book here. But I think they used to make stamps for other companies because I think I looked into them. When I was starting Stampscapes and I was going to ask them how much it would cost for them to make my stamps. I don't know, I asked a couple different companies before I decided, you know what, I just got to make it myself or do like the assembly work on them. Okay, so anyways, well, with that one ad, it really got us through a lot of this book right here, rubber stamp storage right here, Studio 2 pens. I've flipped through these books before, but, when we're talking about original, or not, well, when we're talking about alcohol inks and whatnot, this was it right here, Studio 2, double-sided. One side was a fine tip, one side was a chisel tip. I don't know, maybe they missed out in terms of the type of pen they had. Maybe if they had a brush marker at the time, these ones would have really caught on. These ones were really fantastic, and they had. I don't know if they had re-inkers. I don't think that's a re-inker for the pens right here because these pens came in different values too. So you could buy a set of like 10% values of this big collection of colors. Then there was a 20%, a 40%. I'm guessing there was 100%. I'm not sure, but they were fantastic. Gaida Woodworks used to make my stamps. Used to drive down to Stamp La Jolla to teach, once in a while. Alias Smith Monroe back issues. Stamp Cabana collection of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 6 Stamp Cabana stores in the Florida area. I taught at 2 of them, I believe. On my trips to Florida. Thanks, Stamp Cabana. Stamp Cabana's not been around for a while. Alright, so anyways, Stampendous right here. ClearSnap, miss them as a company. Ancient Page, remember those? Kind of those, interesting cases. There was kind of like a little slight S curve to that one right there, that roller cross, but just a really fantastic company. Colorbox Stylus tools, gosh, fantastic tools. I've been just using wadded up paper towels, which work fine for me, but, I miss using my Colorbox Stylus tools. These were the best things to apply color with. To me, bar none. I don't use them now because you can't get them anymore because, ClearSnap went out of business. What has it been? Has it been 3 years at this point in time? I think it was 2 years for sure. Seems like more like 3 years at this point in time. I don't know. I'd be shocked if it was more, but time flies. The Rubber Stamper, May, June 2001. Gosh, that was a long video here. A little walkthrough, but I don't know. It makes me think of all these kind of fun times in stamping. In addition to just kind of flipping through this, but I don't know. It's good so that I don't forget some of these things. I've already forgotten a few things, but I don't know, kind of going through this type of thing refreshes my memory on certain types of, companies and aspects to what was kind of going on in the industry. Rubber stamping industry isn't like a huge, company that's been going on for 100 years or something like that. Started, kind of in the 80s. Some people have been stamping from the 70s, but when we're talking about the industry as it exists, or as it existed, we're talking about, the 90s to now. So not a huge span of time, but I don't know, there's just been so many different types of things going on that are still, that have come and have gone, but there's a lot of things that have come and gone and whatnot, but it's kind of fun seeing these types of trends again. Or not trends, but different types of techniques that, if we were to use them again, would kind of be fresh and new, and, they're worthwhile kind of bringing back in terms of, the enjoyment, level and I don't know, kind of ease of application and whatnot, to get some pretty dramatic results too. So I don't know, I'll have to do some of these types of things again with the, those sponge types of techniques and whatnot. All right, so, and again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you remember any of these types of things, or if you have the rubber stamper and whatnot, all right, leave a comment in the comment section. Love to hear from you. Okay, thanks for watching.